Hey guys, how's it going? So today's podcast is with Willie Hunter. If you don't know him, let me just introduce you to his work. He has been a stand-up comedian. He has been the co-creator of the Carmichael Show, which is one of my favorite sitcoms, and is also one of the best sitcoms there is. Uh, he was also a producer on Lil Rel Howery's show called Rel. He was also on the Alec Baldwin Roast writing team. How cool is that? We talk politics, we talk Black Lives Matters riots, we talk COVID, we talk writing, we talk TV shows, we talk everything. Yeah, we talk about everything from TV shows to COVID to politics and to the black riots everywhere. And yeah, it's safe to say it's a good podcast. I think so. So yeah, give it a listen. Uh, okay, welcome to the podcast, Willie Hunter. I'm a big fan.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for being here. We've been doing this, planning to do this since a long time.
I know. What time is it there?
It's 2:44 a.m.
Oh my God. Oh man, you are dedicated. You are dedicated.
Oh, thank you. I'm also a big fan of your work, so like it's all right.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And we're doing it now, so I'm happy to be here.
Anyways, how are you feeling, man? Shift from New York to LA.
Um,
How's travel right now?
I was scared to travel. I was in New York for a little bit, then I traveled over to LA because I have a couple interviews and some work opportunities. And the flying part was, I was scared, you know.
Mm.
Well, it's not, I wasn't scared for me. It's just that other people don't care. They're not wearing masks. They're not wiping their hands. They're not socially distancing. And I'm looking at my fellow Americans. I go, this is why the world makes fun of us. We're entitled assholes. Like, put a mask on. Come on.
It's actually everywhere, though. You'll be surprised. Like, it's everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. Like, there are some people, bad people everywhere, right? Like,
You're
who are
right.
just not doing the thing.
How's it going over there in India? Are people wearing their masks or anything? You said the cases are going up.
Yeah, like we are fourth, and US is the number one on the COVID thing. The maximum number of patients.
Yeah.
Like it's growing. The lockdown has recently been lifted, and people are just traveling. There is a traffic jam, which was just a big thing. Like, how is there a traffic jam right now? But people are traveling because see, life has to go on, right? You can't.
That's the thing. It has to go on, but you got to be responsible too. I mean, these are just simple measures you can take that's going to prevent it from spiking. I mean, just wearing a mask, being 6 feet apart. These are simple things. Wash your hands. I remember when the CDC came out and said, way to combat COVID is to wash your hands. And I remember a lot of people over here are like, oh, great job. We should wash our hands. And I said, no one's been washing their hands the whole time? They're like, no. I was like, oh my God, I've been living with animals. I wash my hands every time. I don't care.
For the last episode, we interviewed a doctor, and she said that it might be a blessing in disguise that we can be clean now. You know what I mean?
I love it. I'm a little bit OCD, so it's perfect for me.
Exactly, right. Also, how are the riots still there? Like, I want to ask you, what do you think about this?
Well,
Like,
when I arrived in Los Angeles, they had just got doing a big march, and I was actually in the Uber, but it was a big SUV, and I had a mask on, whatever. But as we were driving down through basically Griffith Park, which is a kind of a hipster area here in Los Angeles, Feliz, that people were still out with their signs, you know, Black Lives Matter, and I was, because I haven't participated because I've been quarantining for 3 months in New Hampshire. And because I just needed to get away from everything and socially distance. So when I came out back to the city, I was like, oh, this is real, because I've only seen it on the news. And it was weird because everyone that was holding a sign were white. There was no people of color outside. So I just gave a little nod, and they were like, oh my God.
But you'll be surprised to know that it's everywhere. Like, I wrote an article for Black Lives Matter. We are
Really?
working for a
What do
e-magazine
you guys
called Outside In.
What do you guys think about it in India? What does Black Lives Matter mean to India?
It's the norm. It's the same thing. Like, see, police brutality happens everywhere.
Hmm.
Over there, it happens the most because there is a generic color divide. Over here, everyone's brown, so it
Hmm.
doesn't happen as much as it happens over there. But the thing is, right? It's the connect with movies and shows. It's weird to say this, but every person who's my age watches American television, and there are black people in it. So
Hmm.
people are starting to empathize. Like, there are some people who are fans of it. You get what I mean? So people
No,
are starting to
it's
empathize.
beautiful. It's beautiful. I never thought of it that way. In
Yeah,
America, like I think, I don't want to speak for all Americans, but I think Black people are definitely taken for granted a lot, and we're engrossed in every facet of entertainment, whether it's sports, whether it's movies, singing, dancing. We're only 13% of the population, but we make up a majority of the entertainment.
right. Definitely. The thing was that I recently realized that if there is a black sitcom, there has to be a black sitcom completely. There are different sitcoms, like white and a black sitcom, that should be different. People do not like when races are mixed. And that's what was like, I haven't been there. I haven't experienced whatever you guys are experiencing there. But just the thought of it,
Yeah.
makes me circle, yeah.
I mean, you're actually knocking it on the head. So you're absolutely right. But there's a change now that's happening that I'm looking forward to. That I think the generation below me. I'm 33. I'll be 34 in August. So I'm a millennial, but I really admire the Gen Z generation. I think what they're doing is fantastic. I mean, I'm not a big fan of TikTok, but uh, I really do like that they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go out to the streets and march. When those
Yeah,
kids went up for school shooting, when they went up to Washington, I said, wow. When I was 16 years old, I started thinking about rights and like marching, and I was thinking about whose party we're gonna go to.
right.
So it's a beautiful thing that's happening. Not like you said, not just in America, but in the world. I think our generation and below. I think we want everyone to be treated fairly and equally. We want everyone to have a
Right.
fair shot because we want the cream to rise to the top. If you're good, we want you to have your shot because that's how you build a better place. You got to let the good uh, thrive.
Definitely. But I wanted to ask you, like, what is on the horizon of this? Like, of course, everything is trying to change. But again, the leader hasn't changed yet. There are
Yeah.
elections happening right now. And again, it's the same thing. It's Trump and Biden, right?
Yes, Trump and Biden. You know, I'm a Bernie supporter. I voted for him
Right.
in the primaries. I really wanted him. I actually love Elizabeth Warren as well. But the capitalistic part of America won't allow those, ideal social, because you don't make money off social programs. You
Right.
make money off insurance. You make money off pharmaceuticals. America is the capitalistic pig of the world. We love cheap, free labor. That's why
Right.
slavery happened for so long. That's why we have companies in India and in China, and we're paying little to nothing. We don't even make shoes here in America. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think my generation, we're a little bit more socially democratic. We're saying like, look, I don't want to have a bunch of money. I just want to be comfortable.
Right.
What's the
But
point
do
of
you
having
think
all
there's
the
a
toys?
yeah? But do you think there's a change in horizon? Like, can you see something which is happening? Maybe different. Like, see, I don't think Trump is going to get reelected.
I don't think he
Uh,
is, and I think he's going to bow out at the last second. I think the negativity is getting to him. Do I think Biden is the better choice? I don't know. I think Biden's also, he's suffering through dementia right now, and I'm like, why? What is up with all these old white men? Can we get an old woman or an old black man, an old Indian, someone else besides an old white man? My God, we've
right.
had we've had that too many times. It didn't work out for
Exactly.
us.
I was today itself. I was listening to Tambourine, Chris Rock's special.
Great special.
Yeah, great special. And he said this thing that Bush was so bad, he gave us Obama.
Yep.
Trump was so bad that he gave us Jesus. And you know what I mean? And right now, when Biden is there, Like, I don't know much about politics, but I know that Biden is just better than Trump. He's not the best.
Oh, he's definitely, it's light years. It's no comparison. I think a lot of liberal people here that are Bernie fans like myself, we don't like Biden because he's geared towards more conservatism. He considers himself a moderate, but a moderate is a conservative in disguise. But at the same time, Trump is a demagogue and egotistical, and he will ruin everything. He had a quote in one of his documentaries where he said he loves when there's chaos because that's when he takes advantage. So when there's a stock market crisis or when there's a COVID or whatever it is, that's when he thrives. And that to me is not a person I want leading a nation, let alone to call my president.
Well, clearly he was wrong though. He just hid in his bunker. He did nothing.
Oh, he said he went to check it out. He didn't hide in his bunker. He went to check it out. Well,
right. We believe him.
Yeah, sure. Hitler checked out his bunker too at the end, right?
Exactly.
He just went down there to have a couple pills, hang out with his cousin,
Anyways, man, I want to ask about this, the premium thing. How was Carmichael Show, man? Like, I'm a big fan. Like, tell me, how does it work though? Like, what's the schedule like? When does the script come, and how does it take place?
Okay, I can quantify that down. I remember the pre-story is that Gerard and I had been roommates in open mic comics. We've known each other since 2008, and he's just so naturally gifted as a stand-up comedian that he excelled so quickly. Like within 2 years, he was in the Hollywood Reporter, Variety, all these big publications for like comics to watch. And at the time I was roommates with Gerard, and he said, hey, NBC approached me and they want a show. And I was a writer of my own, and I wrote a bunch of specs and stuff. And Gerard goes, let's make a sitcom. And I go, all right. And I know it sounds simple, but that's how it happened. And then from 2012 to 2014, we formulated and created what we wanted as the Carmichael Show. The earlier version of the Carmichael Show was supposed to be a little bit more like Seinfeld, with young people talking, no older generations really, because there was a character based off me.
That's
nice. His name was Alex, and I remember Gerard saying, Willie, you got to get in this show, you got to do this. And I said, I can't act. I said, we can't have a show that two people can't act. And and then we met up with Nick Stoller, and Nick Stoller said, I think this should be more like Everyone Loves Raymond. And, and we're like, okay, because people don't want to hear young people talk about heavy stuff like we did on Carmichael Show. So when you bring in your parents and your cousins and you bring in other people, now you got a good, exactly. So Nick Stoller, I credit him with that eye-opening. That's why he owns 50% of the show. But anyway, so we did that, and the schedule for Carmichael Show, we would shoot an episode on Thursdays, and that was a day that would tape night in front of a live studio audience, and we would have a table read for the next episode on Fridays. So we would spend the weekend doing rewrites. Monday through Wednesday was rehearsal, rewrites. Also working on next week's episode. So we have a room full of 12 writers. Wow. And it was a pretty diverse room we had. I think we had like 5 female writers, of the 12, which, Willie, that's still less than 50%. But in Hollywood, having more than 3 is a lot. And our showrunner was she's amazing. She's a Mexican American that came from nothing, and she went to Stanford, and like she's brilliant. She's a hard worker. She's amazing. You should look her up as well. But so we would do that. Gerard would come into the room and says, I want to talk about this. He says, at the time, like protests, I'll give you an example of the protest episode. I think it was the Missouri protest, the Kansas City protests were happening at the time. I think it was after Eric Garner, but before the kid. I'm explaining this like this is nothing. Before the kid that had the BB gun that got shot, but after the guy that got chokehold, but way after Trayvon Martin. But this is 2015. This is 2015, Right. And So he said, I want to write something about this. And so what we do as writers is we go, okay, this is the topic. It's a very difficult topic. How do we respect it and be funny at the same time?
Hmm.
And because we have a room very diverse with writers, we would throw up the topic and we would just argue with each other.
Exactly.
It was like group therapy. Like, Gerard would say something like, I don't think protest does anything. And I go, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, we've been protesting our entire life. The Boston Tea Party, women's suffrage, the Civil Rights Movement, the Million Man March. We've been protesting. And then Gerard would go, and Gerard would say this. He goes, so where are we now? I go, all right, you're making a good point there.
Yeah, that's good.
I was like, all right. And we would just do that over and over every topic that we would come up with, because we just wanted to be honest. We're not
Right.
trying to hurt anyone's feelings. We're just trying to take every possible angle and be intelligent about it.
When you say this, because even I'm a writer, right? And I love dialogues. Like in my scripts, there are majority of dialogues similar to Seinfeld and Carmichael Show.
Yeah.
So what I do sometimes is, my parents don't know about this, but when the whole family talks, I just put my record button and put my phone outside.
Oh, that's brilliant. What are you doing? Don't be embarrassed by that. That's great. I've been going by remembering shit, and I got to be honest with you. I got to stop doing that.
Recording works just fine. Like, I have 2 short films written, complete discussion, nothing my own, just the whole discussion my parents had. And it's actually good.
Yeah. Look, that's the thing. Like, I grew up in the South. I'm from Alabama, black kid in Alabama, and Gerard's raised in North Carolina. So we were
Right.
both nerdy black kids growing up in a rural, country area. And I think we connected on that, because I remember when I met Gerard, he had a Harvard shirt on. We were 21, 22 years old, and we were at open mics. He had a Harvard shirt on, and everyone was like, oh my God, you went to Harvard, And I went up to him and said, you didn't go to Harvard. And he goes, nope. And he would just wear Ivy League sweatshirts just to let people, preconceived notions about a person can go a long way. That's how brilliant this guy is. I'm like, wow.
That's a good way to
came to
impress.
Hollywood. Yeah, wear Ivy League shirts so people think that you're intelligent, and like, I still called him out on his bullshit. That's why we're friends.
But I wanted to ask you about this. All right, in the Bully episode, I recently remember, because I recently binge the whole show. In the Bully episode, where we see a troop who was a bully, and there's an argument, and when David Alan Grier's character is saying stuff, and it's kind of incorrect because there's a battle, right? And when the audience cheers for him, does that put you in a tricky position?
Well, the audience, which is weird, most people are actually inherently conservative. That's the truth. Change is for the youth. Our audience for Carmichael Show was probably in their mid-40s.
Okay.
Because people didn't know who Gerard was while we're taping the show. So the fans came there to see David Alan Grier. They came to see the Rilla Divine. They didn't know the young stars. So they were old school people saying, right, that's how you talk about, So for us as writers, we love that challenge of being like, as a young person saying, oh, you may be right about this, but let's talk about this.
Right. That's nice.
It's an incredible feeling,
Definitely. Like, this show, like, I'm a big show watcher guy, if it's something going. But many people know about Carmichael Show over here in India, where it's not even originally aired. So that's
Really?
kind of a success. Yeah.
That's good. That's very good, because we just wanted to make a show that people can relate to, families can relate to. Like, everyone has a family member at your family gatherings, and you're like, oh, this guy or this woman, like, everyone has it, but you put up with them because you're family.
Definitely.
And you don't hate them. You're just like, I gotta deal with this person for 2 hours, and that's what we wanted to do with Carmichael Show. I have those family members, and he has those families. You have those families. We all have those.
Definitely.
But that doesn't mean I can condemn them and push them away. We still have a common goal of being great people. We just disagree on things. So we wanted to make a show that people disagree on shit, but yet at the end of the day, they love each other. And I
Right.
think what's going on in the world right now is so much discourse that people can't accept other people having different views. And that's not how it's supposed to be.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
You know, I read this credits, but there are so many credits. Like, explain to me this. Like, uh, you have a script almost ready. Now, what does a supervising producer, executive producer, and there's so many of these. Like, what do they
I'll
do to
break
the
it
script
down
of the
to you.
show? Yeah.
Well, every episode is written by the whole room. If
Okay,
you
so
got,
there's not
if
one person doing one episode.
technically no, but technically yes. I'll tell you why. Because when, like I said, when Gerard comes in with a topic, the room, we come up with a story idea, we come up with scenarios. So there's room notes. So the assistants are also involved. You know, the writers' assistants are involved, typing everything up. We ask for their input because everyone in the room is vital.
Right.
So then whoever gets penned, I would say the writer of that episode, they go off and they put everything together. You know, they take all the notes, they take all these things, and they create the stories and they build a thing, and then they bring it back to the room, and the room looks at it and we critique it, and they go off and rewrite it again. So like an episode that I wrote, like technically I did write it, but the room wrote it. The room came up with it, but I went off on my own to
Okay.
piece it together.
So you were the one who penned it down.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Okay.
So like, so it's always a group effort, but when it comes down to your sole writing credit, you're almost like in charge of that episode. Like if the
Hmm.
episodes I wrote, I was the in charge person. I was there on the set. I was there for the rewrites. I was there for the table read. You know, I am kind of the guy of it. Now, when it comes to the credits of like script supervising everything, all that, everyone in the room is a writer. We're all a writer, but
Hmm.
depends on how long you've been a writer. Like you start out as a staff writer. That's the
Okay.
lowest part, right? You start as a staff writer, and then and there's layers. You know, that's through the WGA. It's layers you move up to. So you start a staff writer, then you're co-producer, then you're producer, then you're supervising producer, then you're co-executive producer, then you're executive producer. So it's
Wow.
more of a tenured thing, and it's very confusing to a lot of people because
Right.
people. You know, I of course I was a co-creator of the show, but I was also a staff writer for the first 2 seasons because it was my first big writing gig.
Yeah,
So,
you were
you
credited
know,
as story editor.
yeah, exactly. I was story editor at the end. That I moved up to story editor, and then I worked on Lil Rel show on Fox, and I became a co-producer. So every time I get another writing job, I'll move up the tier, and that's just through the union.
Right. Right. Okay.
I
So
don't
it's
like it, but
it's.
that's how it is.
All right. I wanted to ask. You mentioned Rel. Now tell me, why didn't it get renewed for the second season? Like, what do you think particularly went missing?
um, you know, and people ask me this question a lot, and it
Hmm.
makes me feel good that people miss the show that much that they're like, I want it
Yeah, I
back.
like the
Why is
show.
it good? I think we did the right amount. I was hoping for maybe one more season, but our show, as well as we pulled off, it was we wanted to do a show that we would write something that week and we aired it that week.
Okay.
So we were writing evergreen topics. So when you do something like that, like we would write it, those episodes, we would write them and they would air like 5 months later.
Hmm.
So
You
we
generally
could
guys
we
have a bank.
exactly. So we couldn't make we try to make a Trump episode, but I remember saying in the writers' room, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm not saying he could get assassinated, but he could. I mean, so we couldn't make the hard jokes that we wanted to because we're so far advanced with the episodes. So we had to do these broad topics, and I don't think I'm glad we ended the way we did because I think we're dangerously close getting to doing these after school specials. And and I did not want that for the show. And Gerard obviously didn't want that for the show. And
Hmm.
I think we did the right amount. It's almost like I'm not comparing us to Dave Chappelle's show, but I think
Hmm.
the fact that it is not that many, because we only did 32 episodes, that it makes it
Right.
more of a gem than if we did 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes, like, it's the same thing. Like, if you have a car when you're growing up, you don't
Mm-hmm.
value it as much. But if you don't have it, you want a car.
You
Like, it's the
want it, yeah. Now, of course, we're all going off doing our own things. Hopefully, we'll get back together and make something together again. But I think that for what we did, I'm very content. And but I
Yeah.
understand people's concern that, oh, wow, was this show coming back? Could it come back? It could come back. There's no. I just did an interview before you with the Business Insider, and they
Oh,
were asking
nice.
me about the protest episode and then the blues episode. And I'm sitting there going like, man, we wrote that aired in 2015. That was 5 years ago. And yeah, they're saying, but it's so relevant now. And I was like, oh, that
Definitely.
makes me feel good to make art that is timeless.
Right. Like, tell me, like, making a Carmichael show, you must have to deal with standards and practice a lot.
Yeah. Well, we were surprised by the notes they actually gave us. We got away with murder, oddly enough, but
Yeah.
the notes they would send us would be for the oddest things. Like we had a joke about something about, I mean, it's gonna sound vulgar, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But it's something about, again, I'm sorry to be so vulgar, but it's like
Yeah, it's
something
all right.
coming out of an ass, or something like that. And standard and
Okay.
practice said you can't say anything. No, it's something about. It's like you can't say anything like you said. Blow it up your ass. That's what the line was. And the lawyer said you can't say anything up the ass. You can only say out the ass. We're like, what?
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's so
yes.
strange.
So sodomy, no. Farting, yes. I mean, that's so weird. Like these little rules. Like we had a joke about Tom Cruise, and they said, "Don't do that Tom Cruise joke." We're like, "Well, can we make fun of Mark Wahlberg?" They're like, "Yeah, you're good with him."
Oh,
And we're like,
just you
"What?"
can't make an action star feel bad.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of Scientologists in Hollywood, I guess.
Yeah.
But so, like,
But
we never try to
huh,
write stuff thinking that they're not going to like this. We actually wrote it hoping that they would try to contain us, and we were pleasantly surprised that we got to say a lot of shit, especially in the
right.
pilot episode when we said room stank. I was like, we can say that. And I think it was because we were doing a live studio audience, and their reaction was you couldn't deny it. Like they're laughing so hard
Right.
that the executives can be like, well, we can't do that, or like, well, they love it.
Definitely. But did you guys test for this?
I'm sorry.
Did you test for the show before?
We did a pilot presentation, yeah, of the
Yeah.
old
And did it
concept,
go
like I
well?
said, and it went all right. And we shot it in Christmas time around 2013, and we sat on the shelf for 6 months. NBC didn't really care that much about it, and then they got bought over by Comcast, a new company, because they used to be GE. Comcast bought them over, and they said, "Hey, what
Right.
happened to all those pilot presentations you shot?" And they saw ours. I said, we got to get these kids back in here, because we were like 25, 26 at the time. And they're like, we
Right.
got to get them back in. And they brought us back in, and we brought in Nick Stoller because Gerard worked with him on Neighbors, and it was off and running then.
Wow.
You have to make it. And like I tell people about selling stuff in Hollywood, the secret is it has to be complete before you can sell it. The package has to be done, because no one wants to work over here. You don't go into a meeting pitching a show and hoping they're going to give you the answer. You go into the meeting pitching the show and telling them how it's going to be done, and they're going to say yes, and they'll give you the
Okay.
finance and make it happen. So whenever people come in, I was like, no, like you don't go in and convince you they have a good idea. You go in and convince them that it can be done.
Right. You need to be fully prepped.
Prepared, yeah,
Right. Explain to
absolutely.
me.
And
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, no, I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. Explain to me, how does a show get on screen? Like the first process. Like how do you pitch it? How do you get to the like I understand through agents, but what's the process like?
Well, we had an idea, and I also want to include Ari Kacher too. He's a
Yes.
co-creator as
Fourth
well, and
grade.
he's
Yeah.
very very funny guy. And I think he's working on the TV show Rami right now. I think he's like a head writer on that or
Gerard
something
is
like that.
with Rami too, right?
Yes,
I
Gerard's
recently
producing
finished
it.
season 2.
Yeah, and Rami's a great person. I love him. But we went out to production companies first. Like I said, you have to build the package. So
Right.
we went to production companies, and we pitched our show. We even went to Will Ferrell's company. We met with John Favreau. We met with everyone,
Wow.
the biggest producers in Hollywood. And then we chose this company, small company called American Work, which is defunct now. And now the head guy is at A24. That's the production company they do now. A great production company as well. They make
Lovely.
fantastic shit. And
Amazing.
so we grabbed them, and then you have to get a showrunner. And we had Nick Stoller, who was a director of Neighbors and Get Into the Greek, all these things. And we have him now. And then we have Gerard, and then we have me and Ari, these kids with these ideas and work. So we went into NBC. We had a 30-minute meeting. We went after Craig Robinson. Craig Robinson was our rival show. They pinned us against each other. That's what they do here. They said, well, we only have room for one black show in the lineup, and we bought 3 of them, so we got to let them fight each other. And I love Craig Robinson. He's amazing. We're all yeah.
Yeah, Craig Robinson's amazing.
So we go into our meeting, 30-minute meeting. We have executives, and Gerard's late. He's late, and he's 15 minutes late, actually. So we're sitting there like, the biggest opportunity in my life is about to escape me. And he walks into the meeting, and the first thing he said was, who knew LeBron James couldn't act? And they laughed so because he was doing a commercial with LeBron James. And they laughed so hard. In 10 minutes, we sold them the show. And because at the end of the day, you're selling yourselves. And they really loved the energy that Ari and Gerard and I had as we were all 26 years old. I think Gerard was 25. He's a year younger than us. We're all 26 years old. And they saw that we intelligently knew what we want. We wanted something like All in the Family. We loved The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. We love South Park. All these shows, we love Seinfeld. We wanted to do these elements of these things. And they were excited to give us a chance. And we ran with it. When I look back at it, it is almost a fairy tale story. It doesn't happen to many, if not any people. But, it was a blessing. And I look back at the whole process with fond memories. I enjoyed all of it.
Right. I mean, selling a show in 10 minutes is just amazing.
I will say Gerard is pretty fucking charming.
I yesterday saw 8, and that made me think. And that was amazing. Okay. All right. But you said, but what was the pitch for the show? Like, just talking? Like, what do you say? You want to deal with these issues?
Well,
heavy issues.
Well, Gerard and I were both comedians. And we have a repertoire that's more of a Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, where him being Bugs and me being Daffy. That I'm a little bit of a Larry David type of person, and he's more of a Jerry Seinfeld type of personality.
Right.
To where I'm kind of like miserable all the time. I'm always grumpy. I'm like, I don't know. And he's always like, hey, let's do it. That we would go into these meetings and we would put on a show basically for them because we're both performers. And when it comes to selling anything, you got to remember you're selling it. Most times when you sell something, no one cares about the product. They care about how you sell the product. Can you persuade them? Can you, engage them? Because sometimes we didn't have anything when we first pitched the show. Honestly, we just knew that we wanted to talk about tough subjects, and we were dialogue heavy. Like you said, I'm a fan of dialogue. Gerard is a fan of dialogue. Ari's a fan of dialogue. We knew we wanted to do conversations, and we didn't want to do something zany and where there's a bunch of scenes. And we wanted people to see people be decent to each other, basically.
Right. Also,
and I know it's easy to say that now, looking back. At the time, I would not have known any of this, but looking back, that's what we wanted.
but such a great cast you guys had. Like you had David Angry, Loretta Devine, Amber Stevens. You had Tiffany Haddish, who is right now just the
honestly,
biggest thing.
a great story about Tiffany Haddish is she got that on her own. She wasn't originally the cast of that character. It was another actress. She was a stage actress, and she couldn't be there for the table read for the pilot and the first day rehearsal. She had to do a play in New York. And Tiffany hit up Gerard and said, hey, I can be a stand-in. And she crushed it. And I told Gerard, I said, Tiffany's going to mess around and get this part. He's like, nah. So this other actress who was supposed to play this character flies in, and they do a one-day rehearsal, and Gerard goes, she's not as good as Tiffany. And Tiffany's character was only supposed to be in the pilot. Like, she took that role and ran with it.
Wow, that's great.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but you guys, and you had Lil Rel Howery again. How is it working with these great people? Like Lil Rel Howery was not that big at that time. He broke out
Well,
after Get
I
Out.
know David because I grew up on Black entertainment. So David Allen Greer, Living Color,
Right.
Boomerang, like all these iconic Black films. I knew who he was, so I was stoked. And Loretta the same way. I've known her from Still I Got a Groove Back, and all these shows. So we're like, and they're both Juilliard. Well, David's Juilliard, but they're both stage actors. So we knew we were getting grade A talent. Like they're quick study. You can give them a line and they can sell it immediately.
Right.
And they're professionals. At the end of the day, they both were professionals. And then when you
Definitely.
have, at the time, Tiffany, Laurel, and Gerard, they are new. They're young up and comers, so they never really acted in anything. So you had this new, young, raw talent with this old school, iconic talent. And
Mm.
and Amber, who has been in a ton of shows, like
Yeah.
like college shows and ABC Family,
21 Jump
you know,
Street.
21 Jump Street. I think she was happy to be in a Black program. Her mother's Black, but
Right.
her dad's white. So I'm sure she loved it more so than, I think everyone, because she got to prove, I hate to say prove your Blackness, but show that, hey, I'm a Black person. That's why in the protest episode, when Gerard
I'm
says,
black too, right?
I'm Black too. Yeah, and that's honestly, that's the line I wrote because I go through that. I grew up in Alabama. People say I'm not Black enough. I sound white. I enunciate, and so I made a joke the other day. We got to use an episode for Amber. That's my character. My plight is probably more through Amber. As I said, I
Right.
got called a Trisket. I got called a Trisket growing up, and I was like, "What is that?" I said, "A brown cracker." And they're like, "We got to
So,
put that in the script." I was like, "Sure."
you were also the writer on Alec Baldwin's Roast, right?
I did. Yeah, I did.
How was that? Like I've seen you judging them on YouTube. There are some clips where you're
Yeah.
judging people for the roast. But how was writing for Alec Baldwin's Roast with Robert De Niro and
It
everyone's
was
present?
it was fun. I'm not a big fan of I just wanted to do it because I've never done it before. I
Right.
want to see if I can write for roasting, and I liked it, but it's a little too mean for my taste. Um, I mean, if you guys have heard most of the jokes that we wrote in that room, you'd be like, yeah. I think there was one joke about Caitlyn Jenner, like, when she got in that manslaughter thing, like, yeah, I see why you changed your gender so you can't get charged for manslaughter. Like we had, like really mean jokes, and but it was a fun experience. I'm glad I did it, but I didn't get to go to the taping, but I did watch it because I had to do
Okay.
some stand-up gigs. But people seem to like it. And the process was amazing. It really was, though.
Yeah, explain to me the process. Like, how does it work? Like, there must be a writer's room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
We
guys take one person and write jokes for them, or do you guys chip in for everyone?
we write for everyone. Like we literally had a wall pinned with headshots of all the people on the dais,
Okay.
and we would sit in there for 8 hours in our office just writing roast jokes for whoever's on that dais. Now, with that being said, some of them may drop out, and then some people may be added.
Okay.
So that it's always a revolving door of different people being on the roast. But
So
you
the
do get to
artists
a
do not
point.
add anything?
No, they do come in. Like we write them a whole packet of jokes, and then the whole writers, all of us collectively pick the best ones, and then we send
Right.
it to the person, and they approve of which ones they like, and then they come in, and we listen to them and their thoughts and concerns, and then we go back and we write again. It was the process. It was not as fun as I anticipated as writing a sitcom is, because writing a
Right.
sitcom is, like I said, is group therapy. Writing roast jokes, you're isolated, in a corner,
Mm.
and then you get together at the end of the day to present the jokes that you wrote, which can be nerve-wracking because you're like, I hope I'm funny.
Over here, one roast happened. Like, there's a comedy collective. These guys made a roast with the biggest celebs that time. But the thing is that India is a sentimental country, right? So people didn't like it. These
No,
guys
I
got
can
cancelled.
imagine. No, I can't imagine them liking it. I think I saw a roast between. I I think it's. Do you guys have Comedy Central out there, right?
Yeah, we do, but we didn't do on that. This was independent. Some
But do you have a
YouTubers,
roasting show though on Comedy Central?
nope, nothing. Because
Oh,
after
really?
that, roast was the term which we used to get burned out. Like if someone says I'm going to do roast, no one would agree to. Because some comedians
Interesting.
tried it, and these guys were the biggest comics that time. These guys were blowing up on YouTube and everything. This is 2013, 14 something. And these guys did it with the biggest celebs, and it was amazing. It was extremely fun, but it was so bad. But their prices,
it's a cultural thing. Yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing. I, for one, I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand people liking it, and I totally get it.
right.
How do you guys feel about? And they're not bashing this comic at all or anything.
Yeah.
Russell Peters. How is Russell Peters viewed in India?
He's actually the first comic every Indian guy sees from US.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the opposite. Like in
surprised.
America, we're like, he's an Indian comic and they love him in India. And you're like, well, he's an American comic. He's an American Indian comic.
Yeah, it's American Indian. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we're like, which is which?
And you'll be surprised. He recently taped a special in India, and he kind of like agreed to come on this show. Like he was supposed to be the first guest on the show, but it didn't work out though.
Sure, I can, yeah.
Yeah,
but he's a nice guy.
still,
He's extremely nice guy. He is in the
Oh,
comedy
good.
community because he's made so much money. He looks after young comics. He's bought comics laptops. He's bought them clothes. He's brought them on the
That's
road.
nice.
He is a very nice man, extremely nice man.
But like, I wanted to ask you this. Maybe it's a weird question to ask, but black guys are discriminated. That's no secret.
No secret, yeah.
And do Indians have the same thing though? Like, did Hassan Minaj, did Russell Peters, did
Yes,
these guys
but
also have the same struggle?
yes, but not as bad as African Americans because the whole slavery aspect. But Indians are not anyone of color. And I think in any culture, whatever your skin tone is dictates how people treat you. I'm sure you have in
Yeah.
India, you have fair skinned Indians and you have darker skinned Indians, and you know which ones are living well and which ones are not. In
Definitely.
Mexico, the same way. In America, the same way. In Spain, in Greece, in Russia, in Asia, they walk around with umbrellas because they don't want their skin to get darker. It is a
Right.
universal thing. And I know that, I can talk about Black Lives Matter and everything. I know that I also have been privileged of being light-skinned and been giving a pass. If I was a darker skinned person like Gerard or anything, it'd have been a little more difficult. Gerard, for him to be so successful and in his skin is a testament to how intelligent he is as an individual. He's one of the smartest people I know, no doubt.
That's great, man.
Wearing Ivy League shirts just to show that you're smart. It's insanely insanely genius to me.
But
Sociopathic, sure.
I don't want to say anything, but because he's one of my favorite comics too.
No, I love the guy. I'm just busting his balls.
I want to ask what's next for you? Like, are you writing something?
I'm writing something. I'm writing something a little more autobiographical of myself growing up
That's
in
nice.
Alabama. It's odd because I was writing it over quarantine and I didn't know I was writing what was going on in the world. The title of the show is called Black Privilege. And it's kind of about systemic racism in the South. And I'm sitting there like, I'm writing this just out of the blue. And then all this movement started happening. I go like, wow, I'm really in tune with the universe. It is not quite where I want it to be right now, but I really love what I got. I just got to find the hook to show the systemic racism. Right now, I'm using dogfighting as a proxy.
That's nice.
And they don't like it, dogfighting in America. I didn't get a job. I went in for a job and they're like, yeah, that's a little too rough for us.
It's actually everywhere though.
Fine, I didn't want to work on the Connors.
Were you offered a job on the Connors?
I was up for a job in the Connors, yes.
Oh wow! Why didn't you do it? It was.
It was not my choice. Trust me. No, they just went another route, and that happens. That's one of the things that happens in this business. You're gonna get turned down a lot. One of my favorite
Right.
stories is about Danny DeVito. Is that, and I
Hmm.
know it's a cliche story, but he got turned down 100 times before he got his first role, which was in Taxi.
Right. I was seeing Taxi
And
recently.
yeah, and Danny DeVito is amazing. And Always Sunny in Philadelphia, he's so hilarious in that.
So good. So good.
Oh
Can
my
you believe
God.
it?
In
That show has
movies,
14 seasons.
I can't believe it, but it is pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very fun.
It's very racy, but I love it. I love, humor that pushes the envelope.
Definitely. So this thing which you're writing is something like Sermon on the Mount.
Yes, and I've been talking to some people about it. It's basically about my life and how I grew up in rural Alabama and my senior year of high school. How my father, this is loosely based on my real life, is my stepfather got arrested when I was 13 for selling drugs because
Oh shit.
he worked in a manufacturing plant and they got shut down. And he's a man that he doesn't have anything higher than a high school education, so he couldn't get another job to provide for a family. So he started selling like weed and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, but it's in Alabama, so he got busted. And at age 13, age 13 to 14, I'm the oldest of five, so I'm the man of the house. So
Right.
it's kind of that story of how, like, it's like Shameless, the TV show Shameless,
Right.
um, but with a black teenager at the helm.
Wow, man. All the best.
Thank you, thank you. I'm writing it, and I almost don't. I keep telling my manager and agent, they're like, "Yeah, we can send." I was like, I want it to be right because this is my life, and I want it to be good. And I almost don't care if it gets sold because it's more therapeutic and pleasing for myself
Mm.
than anything. And I always tell people that once they get into writing, I said, you're gonna write a lot of shit that never sees the light of day. And that's just it. You write because
Mm.
you want to express yourself and you like what you do. Now, the actual physical part of writing sucks,
Oh, definitely.
but
Just this struggle to get to your laptop and
just to
start
get to
writing.
just to type up something, oh my God, it's
Oh
terrible.
man.
I mean, I have tricks now to fool myself into doing those things. Like, I clean my apartment thoroughly before I do it because I'm kind of an OCD person.
That's nice.
And I know that if I'm going to write, I need to be loose. So I may have a little bit of alcohol or maybe have like a hit of a joint or something just to loosen me up. And then
Yeah.
I listen to basically white noise or like classical music, something that has no words. It's just sounds. Like, I
Right.
love sounds because I can't be in silence.
Right. What
So I'll
I
just
do
put
is
on sounds. Yeah.
I listen to one video essay. There's one video essay that how does Larry David write?
Really.
So I just I just listen to it every single time when I have to write, and then I just I have to do
It's just
something like
something
Larry David.
about it. It just works the brain. The brain works immediately because we need controlled chaos.
Definitely.
It's almost like I want to have the feel of sitting in a coffee shop, but I don't want to sit in a coffee shop.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I want the hustle and bustle of the world, but I want to be alone.
That's really true.
And I'm a guy that talks to myself. I have full-fledged conversations aloud with myself. And I'm like,
I
what are you
really,
trying to say? What are you trying to do? Because being in your head is fine, but when you actually say it aloud, it seems more real to me.
Hmm.
So these
Anyways,
are
man,
just little tricks that I do for myself. Everyone has their own things, but you should act upon them, those quirks, and don't feel bad about them.
definitely, definitely. I on that note, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me,
Uh,
man. I'm
I
sorry that
actually
it
am a
took
big
so
fan.
long, but we did it.
We did it. We did it. That's all right. Now I can show this interview off to my friends that I interviewed co-creator
I
of
will I
Carmichael
will
Show.
I will share it on my social media platform. Just give
Thanks
me
so
the
much.
link, and I'll put it up, my friend.
Definitely.
Best of
All
luck
right.
to you, and I talk to you soon.